pause it, live stream recording as it starts. Like when it opens up, I'll show you why. Pause it. Okay, go back to Zoom.
Got it.
Yeah. It's good to go.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. We begin this gathering by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Acknowledging this reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of Indigenous peoples. I would like to now call on the committee for an election of a chair. Any nominees? Would anybody like to be the chair?
I'll go for chair. Sure.
Okay, do I have somebody to second that? Tom, thank you. Okay, Matthew, did you want to call for a vice chair election, please? Is there
Yeah. Yeah, if anyone would like to elect for vice chair.
Sure.
Okay, can I get somebody to second that, please?
I can
Brianna?
second.
Okay, so Tom, you'll be vice chair. All right, Mr. Chair, then I would like you to appoint secretary treasurer.
Okay. That would be
me.
All right.
Super.
Appoint. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we can move to the agenda, and Mr. Chair, you'll take over now to chair the meeting.
Okay. Okay, so we're here to discuss a property standards appeal for address 142 Queenston Street regarding drainage and safe walkways. This is
Mr. Chair, can I first ask, does anybody have any declarations of interest to declare? Anybody have any personal declarations of interest in this with regard to this address? No? No? Okay, you may go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so is there any request for exemption?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, if like an exemption from the order, or you mean
yeah, so just working through the list, Secretary, would you be able to clarify for item number 7 for request for exemption?
I don't believe we have any. I think we're going forward with the application. There was no request for exemption, so we're going forward with the application, with the appeal.
Okay, thank you. So
you're welcome.
So, so this is for the application 142 Queenston Street, property standards reference number 23111-582 PR. Sorry, and were you able to bring that back up? I was just kind of working off of that screen. I apologize. I wasn't actually prepared for this end of the process. So the property standards appeal reference number 6082-292, owner 280-7823 Ontario Inc.
Can ask the owner if he has any information to provide with respect to his appeal.
Yeah, so
Sure.
if you could provide any additional information regarding the appeal.
Yeah, I mean, just to sort of, I mean, the issue is the completion of the grading in the site, and the reason it became an issue was because the building permit had been closed. And so we have made an application to reopen the building permit and have been going through that process with the city. You know, as you know, it was a massive undertaking to get rid of the old hospital and clean the lands. And we have we're almost complete that process, and we believe that that all of the contaminated soils have been removed. But as part of that process, there's still more remediation work that is required. And so now that we believe that we've cleaned out all of the required soil, we have to go through the process of retesting again, and there may be spots where there is still some contamination where we will be having to continue to dig and remove soil. And so that's why we requested for the building permit to be reopened. All the other concerns with the city, the garbage on the site was removed. The fencing has been fixed, and you know, this is but because you know, we are still planning on moving forward with our rezoning and that application. We just need to continue that process.
Okay. So, is Officer Como here? Are they going to be able to present kind of their kind of walk us through what they've witnessed and kind of go through their evidence for us?
I can do that. Just in regards to the fencing, there's still areas in the fencing that are not secure. So you have to visit the site to ensure that it gets secured, because there's a few open areas still. If you'd like to meet me, I'll meet you there.
Okay, I mean,
Sure. So we had the fence repaired this week by a local firm called Postbusters for maybe the 6th or 7th time. 15 minutes after we repaired the fence, somebody
I'm sorry.
began cutting the fence again. I have called the police, and the police is on. Hello?
I think he's frozen.
Yeah.
Or everyone.
Are we back?
Yeah, your connection is actually lagging. We're struggling to hear you speak currently.
Oh, sorry.
Well, we can turn off the video if that's all right, just to make sure if that helps. Let me try that.
Can you hear
You're still breaking up.
me clearly now?
No,
No.
you're still breaking up.
Yeah, you're still breaking up.
I'm not sure.
I'm gonna try from my phone. I'm
Let
gonna
me just see if we can tether this, because
I'm just gonna log in through my phone directly, so we're on a 5G plus.
sorry about this. He has better.
No, we're still getting an echo. Can you try again?
Yeah.
How is it now?
That's better so far.
Okay. So what I was saying to the gentleman was, we've repaired the fence at great cost many, many times. Every time we do it, it gets vandalized again. We have reported this to the police several times, who have done nothing. And I mean, the whole issue here, this is a development site, and no one is supposed to be walking on the site other than contractors, remediation people, excavators. So we are just trying to understand the nature of this, other than obviously we have to get that, obviously have to keep repairing that fence. I'm not sure what to do about the police department. We've already spent on remediation, fences, etc., several $1 million on the site. And our agreement with the city is it's to enhance the entire community. And we're not getting a lot of cooperation in terms of keeping our site unvandalized.
My concern is with small children accessing the site. You can't stop small children going anywhere, you know, especially when there's areas that are open over there, and that's the reason for the standards order. You have 20-foot drops with rebar and everything sticking out. We'll go through that in the slides. That's my concern on having the property completely secured.
Mm-hmm. I do understand that, but I mean, I'm not sure, you know, in terms of completely filling in all those areas prior to construction is going to be at a huge cost, which probably makes the project unviable. So I'm not, I mean, and we did put up the fencing at great cost, and we would, I mean, we'd really appreciate some assistance from the local police.
Yeah, I mean, we when I was there last Wednesday, and then on Thursday, the last section was closed up, and there are pictures of someone that we sent to the police of someone cutting the fence again. But everything that was open had been closed. In some cases, we closed it twice because in the time we closed it, they cut it open again.
We can speak to that on a separate occasion.
Okay.
So I think what we need to focus on is the order at hand, and that's particularly the item from the property standards order regarding the grading and safe walkways and that particular item. It sounds like there's some other issues going on with the waste and the fence, but I think so for the purposes of today and for the purposes of the appeal to the property standards bylaw, we'll focus on the grading component and the walkway. So
but as it regards the grading, we're in the process right now of that phase 1 and phase 2 remediation. So it's literally the demolition is still ongoing because we're just waiting to find out where the remainder of the demolition is required. And so we've reopened that permit, and had the permit been open, we wouldn't be receiving this order. It was just not to our knowledge, the permit was closed.
And sorry, just to the issue of safe walkways, it's a development site. People should not be walking on there legally. If people get in there illegally by cutting the fence and other methods, it's very difficult for us to control. But we are spending millions and millions of dollars enhancing that property to everybody's benefit. And we're not getting much cooperation in any way in terms of, and this order, with great respect, doesn't make a lot of sense. It's a development site. There shouldn't be walkways. There shouldn't be people walking. With respect to garbage and this and that, we just paid again this week to have it all.
Yeah. So could you provide any insight as to where you guys are at, in terms of the construction and the demolition, so we can get a better idea of, is it
Yeah,
a
sure.
development site, from
So
my awareness, it doesn't seem like it, but maybe
if you speak to Scott Ritchie in the city of St. Catharines, he is the gentleman who has been handling our application. We're at a very advanced stage of the site has been. We've had our public meetings. We're at a very advanced stage of the zoning process. We've taken 7,000 tons of sand off the site, which was contaminated and it's gone to a facility that is registered to take contaminated sand. We have to do one more series of soil testing through our environmental engineer. Wherever their environmental issues exist, we have to clean that up. And we then have to get a record of site condition, which will be provided by the engineer. And we are looking to do, we've been discussing doing 1,135 units in eight high-rise buildings, which the city have given the nod to, and now we have to get the draft plan of subdivision and the site plan approval, which is the next part of the process. But it's an ongoing, it's work in process, and Scott Ritchie and his team, Margaret, etc., are very, very familiar. We are using IBI, who are one of the top architectural and planning firms in the country, who are our consultants on the project. So we're doing whatever we can. However, we can't prevent people cutting our fence. During COVID, we had 20, 30, 40, 50 families living on our site in tents, having cut, again, with very little help and cooperation from anybody to get rid of it. So we're equally frustrated, to be perfectly honest.
But just to be clear, the zoning application, everything was submitted at the end of December of 2022. So we were just waiting for that process to take shape. The last thing in terms of sort of demo that's required is the confirmation that the land is clean. That will happen as a result of this last phase of environmental. And then from there, once we have obviously our site plan approval, we can, we'll be able to begin the construction phase.
I mean, our plan is to be in construction within 12 months or less. But we have to obviously keep the site safe in the interim. But it's definitely not meant for people to go anywhere near. It's a construction site, and the excavation and the danger to somebody walking around who's not certified to be there is going to get even worse while we're under construction. So we have to find some way to keep people out of there.
Okay, so knowing that we have issues with regular issues, and it seems to be very difficult to prevent people from entering the site from public property.
It's not public property; it's owned by us.
Sorry, from adjacent public property, as if some people would be able to access the site.
No, they're not. The site's sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but the site's completely fenced off. There is no access other than if you have a key to the lock, which is only for our contractors and ourselves. Nobody in the public should have any right to be on that site for any reason other than vandalism.
Okay. Officer Como, would you be able to speak to some of these grading issues that you see, and some of the hazards and how they contravene the Property Standards Act bylaw?
Yes.
Sorry.
So we'll go to Appendix D, which shows the photographs. I'll share it on the screen. Those are emailed pictures of the site. Just various pictures of the rubble and debris around the site. But if you scroll further down, stop right there, please. Yeah. So you can see the rebar sticking out over here. In that body of water, there's rebar sticking out everywhere. You scroll to the next page, please. You can see all the rubble on the side over here. Scroll down to the next one, please. Again, there's more people there. I'm sorry, I do have better pictures that will come up. And you will be able to see everything a lot better. But
Yeah.
Initial photos. So there's.
Sorry, if I may I ask, are these pictures on the site within the fence boundaries?
Yes.
So then, I mean, it's a construction site. It's not a public park.
Well, there isn't any active construction going on the site, and there hasn't been any active construction on the
Somebody
site.
needs
Mr. Chair, are we able to present the city's case here without interruption, please? We're just trying to provide it as the appellant has an opportunity to, maybe the appellant doesn't know that they'll have an opportunity to challenge the officer or question them, please.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So there hasn't been active construction along at the property. And that's one of the reasons why we've gotten to this point, and one of the reasons why the demolition permit is no longer on the property. So if you scroll down to the next one, that's the, no, back up one more. So that's one portion of the drop off that's very close to the fencing that was open. And I mean, if it's the nighttime and you have somebody accessing the property, that there is the potential of somebody getting severely injured on this property. Because of that, there's various areas where there's other foundations that exist with rebar sticking out everywhere. If you scroll down to the next page, it will show you a different view. So that's a different view of the drop-off. So to the left is where I took the picture from. And then to the right, you can see all the rebar sticking out. If you scroll to the next one, there's another area. Obviously, there's loose debris and gravel there that if somebody was close to that edge, there's a potential for them to fall off and injure themselves. And that's where the property standards talk about walkways around the property. That you have to be a safe passage around the property, and in numerous areas you cannot even have safe passage through that property. You can see in the photo there, those lines are rebar that are sticking out in the water. I don't even know how deep that water is. I couldn't even tell you, but that drop is at least 20 feet. And then just more picture of debris in various areas from the construction that was previously done on the property for the demolition. And then if we go past that, there's more areas with water and unknown material underneath the water and around it. Again, rebar, loose debris, concrete. Scroll down further. There's a pile of debris at the back over there, construction debris. There's one of the holes in the fence. That's where I accessed the site. And then these photos are going to be much larger photos. So if you shrink it down, you'll be able to see the picture of it. So that's a photo of the orders posted on the property. I posted them at the front and the rear of the property. And I did send it by registered mail to the owners of the property by doing a title search. We'll scroll down as well. That's the orders again posted. And keep on scrolling. That's just close up of the order that was posted on the property. And then we would get into the reinspection photos for October 31st. And these photos are obviously similar to the other photos. So those are open areas in the fence. This is a different area on the property that shows drop. So, and obviously all the other demolition debris that's in there. There's rebar sticking out everywhere in the debris. Again, same thing, rebar exposed everywhere in the debris. That's another area with a drop off. All the photos are going to show a lot of rebar and leftover demolition debris, bricks, concrete, various materials. There's various piles all over the property. That's one of the fences that were open at the back. Water, the same photo. So we're getting into all the same photos that you've seen before, but obviously much larger, give you a better view of the hazards that are around there. So after my initial inspection, I prepared the property standards order. I posted on the property. I sent it by registered mail from a title search that was done to see who the owners were of the property. And then we spoke to Matt. Well, myself, I spoke to Matt, and he wanted to appeal the order.
Okay, thank you for that, Officer Como. Just one clarifying question. So just to confirm, the registered mail date, that it was sent out on September 21st?
Yes.
And then it would be deemed served on the 5th day following, correct? September 26th?
Yes.
So that puts us at, for the 14-day appeal period, that puts us at October 11th.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just want to confirm my dates, but
you have 14 days to appeal and 5 for delivery, right? So that's 19.
19, exactly, yeah. And then what day did the appeal come in through registered mail to the municipality?
Jane, are you able to help me with that? Or
We're just checking on that date. Just 1 second, please. It came in on October 26th.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Does any of the other committee members have any questions for Officer Como?
Yeah, I just had a question. I saw it was referenced section 921 of the property standards bylaw and the particulars to be effected where owner shall have the property left in a level and graded condition to allow for safe passage. So being as that's not exactly what is said in the bylaw, is that coming from, like, is that wording that would come from the original demolition permit? Like, is that's what is expected or what was expected in the original demolition permit with the previous owners?
Well, that wording is because a level and graded condition would allow for safe passage through the property. That's why the wording is that way in the order.
Right. The reason I'm asking is I'm just wondering what the original build or demolition permit required. So I understand, at least from piecing it together, it looked like the demolition permit was issued to a previous owner. Demolition clearly seems to not have been completed, and then the property changed hands, and that's where we're at today.
Correct.
So was the property left in a level and graded condition part of the original demolition permit, or what was expected with that demolition permit to be able to be completed to?
If I may answer, the property was definitely not in a level and graded condition. It was in a much, much, much worse mess than it is right now.
I mean, that's a little bit kind of irrelevant if the previous owners had an agreement through a demolition permit. That's what I'm wondering, what the original demolition permit required, or what was expected of the city to be able to approve that demolition permit.
The demolition. Sorry, go ahead.
No. After you, sorry.
I believe the demolition permit was revoked due to inactivity. The work wasn't completed. You'd have to, I'd have to speak with somebody from the building department to get complete details for it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what was expected of the city in that original demolition permit. It was site to be considered safe.
Anytime there's demolition on the property, from my knowledge, it would have to be left in a level of graded condition. That they wouldn't sign off on something that was incomplete.
So is the appeal today the entire order, or the timeline to complete the order, or just portions of the order?
So if I may, as you can see from those pictures, the demolition is not complete, but we are not currently in possession of a demolition permit. And having realized this throughout this process, we began the process of reopening the demolition permit. We also have selected a vendor to finalize both the testing of the soil and the final removal of the construction debris. But obviously all of that is contingent on the reopening of a demolition permit, which we began the process on. So is the appeal then to extend the timeline to complete the demolition pending a demolition permit? Is there a timeline being requested? Because right now it looks like the timeline's expired, right? October 12th was the original expiry.
I believe so.
Right.
6 months. So I mean, frankly, we've been in the development business for many years, all over in many different cities. We've never had this problem before, so we are not well versed in what the rules are and exactly what is expected. Wherever we've been previously and currently. A development site's a development site. It's under development. We are working with your planning department and headed by Scott Ritchie on a regular basis with our consultants. We've removed 7,000 tons of sand from the site, which was heavily contaminated. The last report came in that the contamination is now gone. We need to test it again because a period of time has passed before we can get our site plan approval and move to construction. So once we realized the demolition permit had gone, we reapplied. And this is it's a work in process. We are working with the city. We are up to date with all our submissions to the city. And I'm not sure there's much else we can say.
So, I mean, I guess after once we get the demolition permit reopened, you know, it would be a period of 6 months to retest the soil, remove any other contamination, and then remove the final amount of debris. I mean, it's a long process because we have to drill holes, retest, send that out for testing, retest it. If it does come back contaminated, potentially remove more soil, retest, and then go through that process. So that's sort of why we need an extension to bring it up to order would be what we'd be looking for.
So I think I heard 6 months. And am I correct in assuming that the order before us, you wouldn't even be allowed necessarily to satisfy the requirements of the order without the demolition permit?
That would be my understanding.
That sounds correct, yes.
Yeah. So I think I heard 6 months. So is this appeal then 6 months from today to satisfy the conditions of the order?
To answer your question, it shouldn't take more than 6 months, but we're also working with the city and submitting all our findings to them. And the planning department has a say in what we do next. So 6 months is an outside guesstimate, but that should be more than sufficient.
If I may, when did you take possession of this property?
Took possession February
Yes.
20. I believe it was February 2021.
Okay, that's what I saw. And so you did or did not start construction at that time with a demolition permit?
Yes, we had a demolition permit, and we've spent, as I said, several $1 million remediating the site, testing the soil. We've removed over 7,000 tons of contaminated sand through North Wolf Construction. We can send you all the documentation to show the soil results. We can send you the environmental engineering results. There's been a lot of work. I know it doesn't look like it, but there's been a lot of work done on the site.
So you did start with a demolition permit that then expired, and now you're okay.
That's correct.
Thanks.
So I still think what I heard was the order is to leave the property in a level and graded condition. The appeal is to have a 6 month extension.
Yes.
Yes, that would be fair.
So I'm not familiar with the procedures yet, Jane, because this is our first meeting as a committee, but is that something we can put a motion towards?
Yes, you can.
So is the extension being looked for 6 months from today's date or from the initial?
Preferably from today's date, if that's possible.
Has there been any considerations to make the site? I understand you're saying it's a development site, it's a construction site, so naturally there are going to be additional hazards. Seeing as there is limited construction, and there has been from what we can see, and based on the pictures that we're looking at, where there are drop-offs, significant enough. There is uneven graded land. Are there considerations that are made to make the site safer from now until you get your demolition permit? Is there anything we can do until you get your demolition permit?
I think the only thing we could do at this stage is possibly hire a security company to patrol the site to make sure nobody goes on it, a private security company. Because in terms of getting onto the site and covering things up, we're just going to have to uncover them again. It's going to double the work, double the cost. It'll make the whole project unviable.
And then we do now have the fence guy on retainer because it seems like just a losing battle. So we've engaged postbusters. So not only have they fixed it, but we have them checking the fencing every 3 weeks as it currently stands. So those are steps we've taken to comply with it. But I mean, literally, I can show the guy was still there when they were cutting the fence back open. So it's that part's very much an uphill challenge. But once as I said, we've submitted all the information for the the demolition permit. Once that happens, we have the group re-engaged to begin work much more quickly.
And I think another point to Matt's point is that once there are construction people on site, people are less likely to attempt to come on site. It's because the site's empty, and I have no idea why people like being on there, but they do.
Do we know what the turnaround time is on getting the building permit?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Sorry, it was more for the city. Do you know what the turnaround time is on getting a building permit? Like from the date that they apply to when they should hear back?
My understanding is not very long, maybe a few weeks. My understanding is not very long. I mean, we could check with the city and get back to you, but we've completed the demolition permit. We've given them all the information, and I can't imagine it would take very long to get that permit back. But again, this is the first time we're doing this, so I'm not sure.
And let's say you get your demolition permit in 3 weeks. Do you have trucks, and are we ready to go? Is the schedule in place where we're going to start being able to bring the site to a safer condition?
I mean, we will have workers on site, but they are remediating the site, which means they're going to be digging, and they're going to be digging boreholes. It's not going to be safe for people to walk around on. I've got to be honest with you. I mean, it's a construction site. We are planning on building 1,135 units, which is a huge, huge project. It's over 1 million square feet. It's going to be deep excavation. It's not going to be safe. People should not be allowed. We have to do whatever it takes to keep people who are not authorized to be off that site. That's the bottom line.
Because even without the next phase of the environmental testing, how do we get rid of the rebar? We have to make sure that the materials surrounding it go to the right places.
The environmental issue is very, very strict and serious, and we're following the guidelines that we've been given by the city to the letter, and we have removed I mean, feel free. I mean, they've got all the information in your planning department. They know exactly what. I know it doesn't appear to have made any progress, but if you check with your planning department, they will tell you that there's been a lot of activity.
Does the city have any further comments given the information that you just provided?
What about the large piles of rubble? Wouldn't they have been already tested? Can't they be removed? Like, there is some areas that stuff can be removed to make it level, right? That's not part of the demolition. That's just piles of rubble up now.
You are correct. There are a bunch of piles that have already been tested that need to be removed, which is part of the next phase of remediation. So once the demolition permit's in place, that's definitely part of the first phase, is to remove all the surface rubble. But I mean, I don't want to sound difficult, because believe me, I understand where you're coming from and empathize, but there are still going to be large craters all over the site. They're not going to be filled in, even if those large piles of rubble are gone, because the next phase is going to be digging, excavating, boreholes, soil testing. So I'm not quite sure, but yes, you're correct. We will be removing, in the next phase, we'll be removing those piles. That has to be done as part of our application for a record of site condition.
One item I keep circling back to, and I apologize, as this is my first time going through one of these hearings in this environment. So the Building Code Act, the Building Act, it says that the order has been confirmed after 14 days of it not being appealed, of the order not being appealed. So it's therefore confirmed. And then our job here is to determine whether we confirm it, modify it, extend time, or quash it. So what is our role today? Are we confirming that it's been confirmed, or it just seems as if it's kind of up, it's almost as if it's being confirmed, and it's kind of up to Officer Como if it's going to go to that next step, because it has not been appealed within 14 days. So I'm just kind of trying to navigate that, and how does that all come together? If there's anyone that can.
Can I just?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, you waiting for me? Paul, can you assist me with this, please?
You're on mute, Paul.
Thank you. Yes, I can provide. So the order and the timelines provided, yes, are in accordance with the statute. It's been brought forth to the committee to decide whether or not they want to go through with hearing it or not. Beyond that, it's not within our capacity to refuse the appeal if it's submitted within a time that is reasonable and that it could go before the committee. So we did want to make sure that that opportunity was afforded to the appellant.
Okay, thank you for that.
So I just wanted to add, as far as the delay with the appeal was concerned, we didn't receive the original appeal. Our office had moved and we'd updated many places where it was, but I guess where it was with the city was not updated. I since updated the correct office address, but as soon as we became aware, I began reaching out to the city to sort of explain the situation, find out what had happened with the building permit, with the demolition permit, find out if we were able to reopen the old permit, or if we had to begin the process with a new permit, and been dealing with multiple people at the city. So the reason the deadline was missed was, one, because we never received the original order, and then two, it took several days to find the right person to explain, well, the reason you're getting this order is because it's not currently a construction site, your permit's been canceled, and now we have to reopen it, and that's why we've been taking all of those steps.
Mr. Chair, if I could also make a comment. Section 27 of the Building Code Act does permit some leniency with respect to service in some of the situations that were described by the appellant as well. In terms of the dates and guidelines, does have some similarities, and was the other reason for the appeal being offered.
On also on Appendix G, 2 came back, Number Company and John came back, but Trevor and Matt, somebody signed for them. I don't know if it was themselves or not. Canada Post doesn't allow us to access it online anymore.
We haven't been at the 624 King Street address for a long time. There's still businesses operating there. There's a brokerage and other businesses.
That's fair.
So at this point, I suppose the motion to bring forward is to extend for 6 months. Is this correct, Matt?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I mean, I've driven by this site for years without any work being obvious to be done on the site, so I can certainly understand the frustration there, but I think there still seems to be at least portions of structures on the site which I believe would require the demolition permit. So the 30-day timeline to complete the work probably isn't realistic to begin with. So procedurally, it might be clumsy, but I'm willing to put forward a motion. So for file 23-111-582 PR, I would move that it be given a 6-month extension to complete the repairs or the particulars of the repairs outlined, which is to have it left in a level and graded condition.
Is there somebody to second that motion?
I disagree. I do think that with the amount of time that you were given when you first took possession of the property, had the demolition permit, all that sort of jazz, you would have had the demolition permit knowing full well that it would have been, it needed to be in a level, safe way when you left it. Whether or not the demolition permit expired, I think you probably could have made it a little bit safer in that amount of time. And also 6 months from now, we're about to hit winter. It's supposed to start snowing. People that are going to be on the property, as we've established, can't stop them. The snow, they're not going to see the rebar. They're not going to see the holes. They're at risk. And so in the interest of these people that are trespassing, their safety is not being covered within that 6-month period, and I would worry that they might get injured during that time.
And I do agree with you, but I think what we're asking them, so this was a little bit unclear to me as well, but it looked like the property changed hands, and that demolition permit did not change hands. So
That is correct.
Even if we wanted this work complete, I don't know what the mechanism is to enforce a completion when you're not legally allowed to do something which requires a demolition permit.
I believe the alternative is that the city essentially takes care of it, and they don't need a demolition permit given that they're the city. Someone can confirm that for me. But I believe that's the alternative, and then it would mean that since we're making sure that these people are safe and as they are trespassing. Tony, please enlighten me. Yes.
The city does still require a demolition permit. It does require a demolition permit for the school.
Okay. See.
Mr. Chair, you have a motion in front of you. You should hold a vote on the motion that was presented.
So we don't need a seconder for the motions? Every committee seems to be a little different, so I'm a bit unclear on the procedures.
We only have 3 members. So I think a motion was put forward and Mr. Chair should require a vote on the motion.
So All in favor of motion for Tom?
With a committee of 3, Jane, is the chair allowed to vote?
The chair will need to vote, yeah.
Okay.
All in favor of the motion as presented? 2 in favor and all against the motion as presented? 1 against. 2 in favor. The motion has been successful to the applicant.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I believe that there isn't any other new business in front of us. So yes,
What's the date for the extension till?
6 months from today would be.
I think I didn't present it that way. I said just
Oh.
said a 6 months extension.
Oh, just a 6 months extension. Okay. So then,
That would be April 12th.
yeah, April 12th. So you have to the applicant, you have till April the 12th.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Sorry.
Madam Secretary, can I?
Yes. Yes, you may.
I just want to seek clarification from our chair that this order is being confirmed with an extension. Just, I would like to get confirmation on that, please.
That was the intention of my motion, yes. As written, level graded condition, just extended.
To the chair, thank you.
Is there any other comments? Are there any other comments? No. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn. I just had a quick question. Is there,
Yes.
it's been a while since we had that training for this. Is there like a procedural bylaw for this, just that we could review?
We can get back to you on that, okay?
Great. So a motion to adjourn.
Seconded? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
This concludes